to tonight's show. My name is Mickey Spear. I am a musician, author, and host of tonight's 30-minute quick check-in show where we get to come each Tuesday night or as a replay if you're watching it as a replay, and we just get to be refreshed, where we get to spend 30 minutes together, where we just get to learn about how we can address our own wounds and learn how we can help other people better. So we've gotten a fantastic guest for you guys tonight. Her name is Shadia. I can't wait for you guys to meet her. But before we do, I just want to kind of make sure everyone is on the same page on who I am before we interview our amazing guest. So when I was 13, I lost my mom to cancer, and I did not process it well. In fact, I would argue I didn't process it at all. I spent the next decade pretending I was fine, avoiding it at every possible interaction. But eventually my life was crumbling. I was emotional at the drop of a hat for no apparent reason. My school was struggling. Relationally was struggling. It was just a total mess. And I went to the doctor and I said, "Doctor, I've got a crying problem. I don't know what it is, but I cry all the time. I think like I got a tear duct issue." And he quickly was like, "No, you don't have a tear duct issue. I think you need to see a counselor." And I was like, okay. So after lots of counseling, I realized I had unprocessed grief. Like so many of us carry that heavy weight that we don't even know exists. And after lots of counseling and lots of books and after lots of books, hey, that's okay. That works out. Lots of books and lots of stuff. I realized I had unprocessed grief, and I want to start a show to help everybody else lean into their unprocessed grief and other tough emotions. So tonight we have Shadia with us, and she's part of this amazing organization called She Climbs Mountains. We'll talk all about that here in a second. So before we let her on, I just have a couple quick announcements. First and very foremost, how are you doing? How has your week been? And where are you calling in from? Message us in the comment section, wherever that is for you. Shadia and I would love to see that you are watching, whether you're watching it live or as a replay. It helps us to be able to quickly look over and see who's on the show with us. So let me know where you're calling in from. It'd be great to get to know you a little bit better, and keep the comments coming. Share whatever you want as you hear her amazing story. Last thing, but certainly not the least thing, I've got two special things to share with you. The first one is because Mother's Day isn't that far away, believe it or not, I wanted to make sure that we had an avenue to be able to give people that we know, and I know a lot of them, who don't have moms on Mother's Day, a card to let them know that we're thinking of them. But I know everybody experiences Mother's Day differently. So I'm going to need a link in the comment section. Be sure to click on it. This is just one of my many cards that I designed for a motherless Mother's Day person. So I've got poems that are a little more sad. So if you know the person is struggling, I've got some other ones that are just kind of quick and to the point, like however you're feeling today, thinking of you. Whatever you want, check out my Zazzle page. It's got a bunch of motherless Mother's Day cards, and it's never too soon to buy them and have them in your back pocket. So if you want to know how you can support the show, head to Zazzle, check out those cards, and if you like them, feel free to let me know. I'd love to hear that. The last thing that I wanted to share with you guys before we get to the amazing story that Shadia has to share is that I am releasing a new song. I know. I have had the absolute pleasure of being able to keep all of you guys up to date on my music, and it's releasing on the 23rd of April. So tune in next week. I'll talk more about the new song. It's called Cold Dark Room. Here's the album cover if you want a little sneak peek of that. But it's all about coming alongside somebody when they're in that cold, dark room, be it grief, depression, job loss. There's a lot of things. And this song is actually probably my first vague song in the sense that it could be about grief. In fact, I wrote it about grief. But the more I wrote it, I was like, I wanted to create a song that was a little bit broader, because there's lots of things that can put people in that space. And that's kind of the whole message of the show, right? Is to come alongside people in situations we don't understand, that we can't fix and just be there with them. So that's all the announcements I have today. If you are interested in pre-saving that song, head over to that link. You would have to have Spotify for it. So if you don't really do the Spotify thing, head to my email list. Make sure you're on it, mickyspear.com. And you will not only get the replay of tonight's show, all the links, all the notes, but then also you'll get the first look at the song when it hits. So that's all I have for you guys today as far as announcements. Are you excited for the song? Let me know which of my songs so far that you've resonated with. I would love to hear. It's always fun for me to hear which songs people like the most. I've got See Me, Light a Candle. You let me know. I'd love to hear it, and then I'll play it for you live soon. So without further ado, let's bring on the one, the only Shadia.
Hi.
Hello. How are you doing today?
Good. You guys all got to hear me yelling at my husband because he's giving my kids a bath. And I thought I muted myself, but technology. And I was like, you're gonna have to hide when you come out. You can't just be running around naked. Which, whatever, who cares?
Hey, whatever happens, we're just so grateful that you're here. Whether or not there's a bath happening in the background, we're just so grateful for you.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
Awesome. Well, tonight's show is when a motherless daughter becomes a mom. And of course, for me, this is just, I know I'm going to start crying. So if just everybody listening, that's what we do on the show. We cry on the show, especially when it hits home. But I just cannot wait to hear your story, to hear your wisdom, and as well as for you maybe at the end to talk a little bit more about She Climbs Mountains. So let's kick it off. Do you mind telling us a little bit about your mom and your loss?
Yeah, man, that's such a broad question. But I'll give my elevator pitch for my mom's death. So I was 13 as well, Mickey, and I think we've discussed this, but when my mom passed away from lymphoma cancer, and when I was 10 is when she got diagnosed with cancer. I have a younger sister, and she was 8 when my mom died, and I have an older brother, and he was 16. So we were all quite young at the time. She fought so hard, I know, to live, and she did chemo and radiation, and she did a bone marrow transplant, and I'm sure other things that I'm just not aware of. But in the end, it didn't work, which is very sad. And so, yeah, she died at the Masonic Cancer Hospital, the one at the U of M. Anyways, and we were all there, which was really nice and also so sad. I don't know. It's weird when you have your 13-year-old, you're thinking back on that, like you have such a different perspective of it all.
Right.
And from there, literally the next day we drove to my hometown and, back home. And I went to school the next day, which was not forced upon me. I chose that because I just wanted normalcy, and I don't know, I didn't want to sit in it, So anyways, of course I went to school the next day and also went to a basketball game. Anyways, that's always so odd to me when I think about it. But now working with youth that have lost their moms, I very much can understand that perspective and just give myself some grace about it. So anyways, so then after that, we had 6 nannies during high school. Not because we were naughty. I mean, we were probably a little bit naughty, but just my dad worked on the road and he was gone during the week. I mean, he had to, pay for life. So we had school teachers and other people that would nanny us, which is interesting. And they did a great job, but also nobody replaces your mom. And then also they aren't your mom. So you're still kind of raising yourself. We all kind of raised ourselves and with each other. And so I just became really independent and don't anybody tell me what to do. And I got this, and I don't like rejection. And I mean, I think there's so much. And the same as you though, Mickey, I buried those feelings so deep that I just never talked about her, and nobody did. And yeah, for like 20 some years, really probably until I started having kids is when it all began. Where I don't know, just like everything, kind of erupted. I don't know if it was the hormones or what it was, but it kind of forced me to really think about my mom and me as a mother and what she was missing out on, and what I was missing out on,
Mm.
and all those things. So that's when I got involved in She Climbs Mountains, which I can talk about later. But
Yeah.
that really opened up the bag of worms.
Okay.
And
That's the bag of worms.
been
That
really
is
healing.
emotions, right?
Can you hear me?
I can hear
I
you. Yeah.
cannot hear you. No.
Oh no.
Nope, can't even hear you at all. You've probably been talking to me the whole time.
Oh
I
no.
wonder if
Hey,
people can
no
hear me.
worries. Nope. I wasn't talking to you. You check your audio. I'll text
No
you
idea what you're
really
saying. Why don't you
fast.
text me? That's so strange.
Hey, that's okay. What I'll probably end up doing is I'm just going to call
Nope.
you.
Nope.
eh,
You just keep talking to your audience. Sounds good.
That's okay.
Hello.
Hey, hi. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. I'm just going to ask you my questions from this phone, but you talk into your microphone. Does that work?
Hilarious. Yes.
I know. You know what? This is how this goes. Everybody on the heel and half, give us a praise button or an amen if you agree tech problems are just one of those things we have to deal with, right?
Yeah. Yep. It's fine. I wonder if I put this on speaker, if it'll be. Yeah. I'll just listen to it in my ear. That way it won't. Okay. Go ahead.
Perfect. That sounds great. So the first question that I have, so first of all, thank you so much for sharing your story. I wasn't talking the whole time, so you
Okay.
really didn't miss anything.
Good. I didn't want to interrupt you.
No, that's okay. So thank you so much. I'm so sorry for your loss. Again, we could probably write a book about like, I'm 13 and I avoid my feelings, right?
Yep. Yep.
Oh, but can you walk us through that triggering moment? Like what about having kids or starting to have kids brought it back up? And part of the reason why I want to ask is for those of us watching the show who have not lost a mom, I want them to maybe be able to have some perspective. So when they're talking to a motherless daughter who's getting pregnant, they can go in with that mindset of like, oh, like maybe this is what's crossing her mind right now.
Mhm. Yeah, so I'm just gonna put this down now that I'm not talking, but I still can kind of hear you talking. Um, so I think it's the fact um, that I didn't have like a mom to, be there when I had kids, and everyone else around me did. And even though I had an amazing support system, my friends, my mother-in-law is amazing, all the things, it's like I still didn't have just that one dedicated person that completely understands and that's like
Mm.
blood and has dealt with me because I was a really colicky baby and I had colicky babies. And that would have
Okay.
been so helpful just to have my mom there to be like, yeah, you were a total pain in the A and you look at you survived. So it's like, I think that's what really triggered it is just not being able to have that like consistent support. And then thinking about like once you have kids, it was thinking about that my kids were missing out. My mom was missing out on my kids. My kids were missing out on my mom and the experience of her. And then it just starts getting you thinking about like, what if I die? I've always thought that my whole life, but what if I die? What's going to happen to my kids? What are they going to remember of me?
Mm.
Who's going to take care of them? I mean, besides their dad. But
Right.
so I
Yeah.
think it was just like the natural syncrasy of having kids and like the life process that really brought me to it. And then, yeah, I think I was just really feeling all the feels and hormonal and crazy and sleepless in Minneapolis. um,
Oh, I'm gonna ask a quick question. Bring in my little microphone. Back up.
yeah, I'm here.
So I loved everything that you had to say, especially regarding those things about my kids aren't going to experience their mom. My mom's not going to experience her grandkids. Not that we don't love our husbands, but I've always had that kind of thought of like, okay, like if I died, like you're taking care of them. Like, do you know what to do?
Oh,
And we just walk around with that heavy weight and those heavy
yeah.
feelings. So thank you so much for putting a voice to a lot of the stuff I feel too, where it's like my mom died at 43. I just had a colonoscopy and they found polyps. They weren't cancerous yet, but they could have turned
Oh,
into it had they not been
yeah.
found. So all that to say, I do think about all that stuff a lot. And any of us can die at any time, right, from a car accident, but we just carry that
Mhm.
fear so much more real with us. So how did you, I guess, kind of work through some of that grief that came back up?
Yeah. So just to go back to what you're talking about, I literally have a wife plan for my husband. He doesn't know this, but in case I die, I'm like, listen, there needs to be a woman in this picture. They need a mother figure, and I just have
Oh.
one planned out for you. Anyways, that is probably sounds so ridiculous, but I don't care. Whatever. Planning.
My only rule, yeah.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say my only petty rule is she can't be as pretty as me, and that's so bad, and that is so
Oh yeah, no
awful.
way. Uh-uh. No,
Sorry,
she needs
babe.
to
You
be.
can get remarried, but
Yeah, I need to still be like, "Oh gosh, Shadi was great," even though I'm not, I'm not perfect. So, anyways,
oh my gosh.
um, sorry, going back to your question, how did that kind of like all unpack, as people like to say now? Um, so I threw myself into a She Climbs Mountains retreat, which obviously we haven't been able to do for a year, um, or a little bit more. But I went from like 0 to nothing, which is kind of how I roll. But I threw myself into like a 2 or 3 day retreat that was kind of like life changing for me. Like I remember there was 10 women there, and we stayed at this home, and you're just really dedicated to this one home, these women. And then we were just doing so many, like, not like therapy, but talking and like doing yoga and doing art therapy, like so many great things. And I remember sitting at the table the first night, and you go around and tell your story very briefly, but you tell your story. And I sat there and like just sobbed. Like I couldn't even get a word out. Like there was just so much pain. And I can't, it's still to think back on that. That's why I feel like She Climbs Mountains it just doesn't even relate to that. But like it's just so important to tell your story, because it becomes that much easier to. And maybe it's just that you kind of detach from it once you say it so many times. But like I like being able to share my story because maybe somebody has a connection to it, or it's relatable, or whatever. Maybe it makes somebody laugh or maybe cry. I don't care what it is, whatever emotion it is. Connection, I feel like, is so important. So and now here I am being able to actually tell my story, however many years later. Is that 5 years or whatever it was? So that happened. And then I obviously got involved in the organization as a whole. But then I also started therapy, and I did a little bit of EMDR. I don't know if you've done that. You have? Yeah. Um, and that was really hard and challenging. I didn't do actually that much of it, but it was exhausting. Like it wiped me out for a week after I had done it. But I think the results from it and how it can kind of change your brain waves. You just have a lot of like regrets and stuff about my 13-year-old self. So I think that has been really helpful. And I actually am going to get back into some therapy because I kind of went into fight or flight mode with COVID. I was kind of like, I'm fine. We're fine. I got this. I still got work. We're surviving. Everybody's still healthy. And that's how I kind of deal with trauma, which I would consider COVID trauma based or whatever. You can have trauma from it, I should say. So anyways, now I'm kind of coming out of that, and I'm realizing like, yeah, maybe I got some stuff to work on still. There's always stuff to work on, right? So
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to ask a quick question.
yeah.
So what I love too is, again, it's these layers, right? It's like I started at this conference, so I'm so glad, and I can't wait for you to share with everybody what more about She Climbs Mountains in just a little bit. But not only that, but that's not a one and done thing. And I think that what I love about your testimony, so thank you for sharing, is it's like it doesn't just go away. That you never just like, oh, I'm over the loss, I'm over the trauma, because little things can trigger it, but also big, massive shifts reveal our real colors on how we naturally handle grief. And you and I are on the same wavelength of like, I'm fine, I'm independent, I can do this, like fight or flight mode. And it's just like, whoa, I could feel myself getting to that sometimes too. So I guess my kind of to build upon that, for those situations where you've got like grief coming back up, how as a mom now do you find it bubbling up, and when you're like, oh, like I'm particularly triggered right now about my mom's loss, like as I'm parenting?
Yeah, I haven't really thought about that, but I mean, I think it has bubbled up in ways where when I get really upset about stupid things, I then get so mad at myself because my mom got really mad about stupid crap, like milk spilling, Kool-Aid on the carpet. Like, I'd be irritated about that now, but like, who cares? It's Kool-Aid on the carpet. We might die tomorrow. Like, that's where I'm at in my head. Um, so I get mad at myself when I sense my going down that track of like irritability and easily frustrated with my children. Cause I'm like, who knows how long I'm gonna have. And it's like I don't want to react that way with my kids. So I think there's a lot of that. Can you repeat the question? I feel like I have a better
Yeah.
answer.
Yes, no worries. So as can you hear me? Okay, just
Yep,
want to double
yep,
check.
yep.
Okay, as you're watching your kids grow up, what is triggering grief? Or like how do you think of your mom as you watch them grow? And like what kind, you answered it
Yeah.
great, but if you've got more
Oh,
to add,
good
I'd
lord.
love to hear more.
Yeah, no, I do have more. It's interesting because my kids, like we talk about her pretty openly. I mean, it's not like every day, but it's no secret, and I try to talk about her more and more, just so it's like just common knowledge or whatever. And when my kids talk about her and ask me questions, like the other day, Madeira, who's 6, my youngest, she said to me when we were at dinner, she's like, gosh, what did she say? She said, well, when your mom was sick, did you give her medicine? And I was like, yeah, she got a lot of medicine. And she goes, and nothing worked? And I said, yeah, nothing ended up working. And she goes, so you just had
Right.
to let her die? And I was like, that's so sad. And I was like, oh, I looked at Nick, my husband, and I was like, oh, oh. And I was like, yeah, yeah. I mean, what else can you say in that situation? That's like, that is the truth of it. And I'm fine, I guess, her understanding it. Like your 6-year-old brain can't comprehend, I don't think, or whatever. And my sister-in-law is watching, and I can just guarantee that she's like choked up right now. Her kids are always talking about Sato Hattie too. So, anyways, yeah, so those things are very triggering because they make me quite sad that they are getting it now. They're getting that they don't get to experience her and that they don't, have those moments with her, and that they know that it makes me really sad. Sorry.
No.
And then they don't like when I cry. They're always like, Mom's crying? Is the world
Mm.
ending? I'm like, I mean, no, maybe. So, yeah.
Oh. Well, thank you so much for answering. I'm crying right along with you.
I
And
know.
I just love that perspective again for people watching the show who have not lost a mom, but you probably know somebody who has. It's good to keep like that in mind. Like as you're talking with them and just being like, they might look fine and maybe it is a good day. But like there are going to be moments where it's like you're watching your kids and grief is popping up randomly, but I just think the world kind of forgets and they kind of move on, but it's like no, like this is an existing conversation for
Yeah.
me.
I always say that about actually one of my friends' mother-in-laws just died. And I said to her, like, I'm sure the funeral was so sad and probably lovely at the same time, but so sad. But I said, I just want to like prepare you that the funeral, in my mind, a lot of the time for me, I don't want to like project that onto other people, is never the worst time because you're surrounded by a lot of people that love you, love your mom, are remembering her and are very present, and you feel just so much love and support. But guess what? Life has to go on for everybody. And then you're quote unquote stuck with all those feelings that are nonstop. And you worry that other people, see now my nose is running. Um, other people are forgetting her or forgetting you. And sorry. So, anyways, I don't know if anybody else relates to that, but
Oh, I relate to that 100%. And I guess Yes, we'd always say on the show, first year is always like not as hard as the second year, even, where it's like it's little like mind twists like that, where everybody assumes like, oh, the first year's so hard. And it's like, yes, but there's like a lot more the second year that's really hard. So there's so many of those mindset shifts that we all need to make regarding grief. So I so appreciate you adding that. One kind of, we're kind of coming up, and I want you to give your pitch for She Climbs Mountains. So my last kind of questions that I have for you, it's twofold. So I'll let you answer it however direction you want. For a mom, let's say I'm not pregnant. I want to make sure we're clear. I'm not pregnant, but like someone like me who's like gearing up for motherhood, who lost a mom, what advice would you give? And then the second one is for those who are community members surrounding the person who's either a mom or about to become a mom. What can they do that helps? And maybe what can they do that hurts? And you're like, don't do that.
Yeah, I feel this is a loaded question as well. I mean, I guess I would say is get your people ready. Meaning, as much as like you want to plan and have, or it's like, relax, I'm just going to have this baby and then I'm going to breastfeed and then everything's going to be great and we're just going to like co-sleep or whatever your plan is. Like, usually plans don't work like that with babies for most people I've talked to and myself. So I think it's really good to have some plans in place, and not necessarily just like in the back of your mind, right? Like, hey, if people aren't offering meals, it's okay to ask because people want to help. I mean, people want to bring meals, people want to whatever, especially if you don't have a mom or if you don't have support, I should say. It doesn't necessarily have to be a mom, right? So like, ask people beforehand that you can help. Or like, if a friend is like, how can I help you? Can you come over here and hold my baby so I can shower like for 1 hour? Like sometimes you just cannot put your baby down. And so it's just like those things are so important. And when you're in it, you're like, I got to do it myself. No, you don't. You don't have to do it yourself. That baby will survive. You will survive. You will be better off. So I guess I would say that. And then the hard thing I think is that, when you're going to be a mother, it's like you want to have all the answers, right? You want to be like geared up with like all the solutions, like, oh, here's how you breastfeed best. Here's how you're going to get your baby to sleep. And everybody wants to give you their feedback, like that's just nature. I don't know, especially women, they want to tell you. And a lot of the time it can be helpful. And I decided, so it can be helpful and it can be detrimental, I think. So as people were giving me feedback, I think I just like acknowledged it, and I didn't like necessarily feed into it. If I didn't believe in it, I would just put it in the back of my head and be like, okay, that is something I can remember. I can ask Melanie about this when things come up, because inevitably someone around you has dealt with the same thing that you have. So it's like taking people's advice with a grain of salt, but then also keeping it in the back of your head and asking people, like putting it out there to your friends, because you're never the only person that's dealing with a colicky baby or one who, or like your boobs are ripped apart. Like, come on, this is just real life. So I don't know if that was that was kind of an asinine answer, but you get the point.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's great. I'm taking this all in. That's so fantastic. And then what would you say to the people who want to help a motherless mom, like who's about to become a mom or has young kids at home? Like, what can they do or say that's like helpful during those times?
Yeah, I would wait, can you repeat that? Something my kids are in the
Yeah,
bathroom that couldn't hear.
nope,
Go ahead, sorry.
that's okay. No
Okay,
worries. So,
I'm
how can
focused.
a community help somebody who's lost a mom, who's
Mm.
about to become a mom, or has young children at home? Like, what can they keep in mind that's maybe different than what they would just do for a normal person having a baby?
Oh my gosh, that's a great question. Oh my gosh, I don't even know how to answer that one. What would I have wanted? Honestly, I really wanted just like the simple things of like a message, like not like, how are you? That's not helpful. No, I'm not well. But like, I'm thinking of you. I'm here for you. Your mom would be proud of you, or like just dropping by some food and leaving. You know what I mean? Like, it's just those little things. And
Yeah.
to also like bring her up in conversation, like, hey, if your mom were here, how do you think, like, how can I help like she would help? I don't know. I don't know if that's the greatest
Oh my
answer. I
gosh,
would
that's
love to hear
beautiful.
other people's perspective on that answer,
Yeah.
the question.
Anyone in the chat, feel free in the chat to give us your thoughts. But Shadi, I thought that was beautiful. I mean, I think you're right. Bring it up, acknowledge it, and remember the person doesn't have a mom. And like they might have an amazing mother-in-law, and that's great. But like there's never too much motherly love that could go around. So like give the
Yeah.
gift, do the things a mom would do for that person if you can, because they don't they're missing half of the equation with that. So I think that is such wise advice, and I'm so grateful for you to share that.
You're so kind.
But so, oh, you're so kind. Thank you for being on the show. Do you mind talking about this amazing organization that you are part of? And I'll make sure I put the link in the comments so people can connect with it.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so quickly, so She Climbs Mountains is a nonprofit that supports adult motherless daughters. And the organization's been around for, I don't even know, like maybe 8 years, something like that. Christine Freeberg started it. And we do I'm on the board for it along with three other women and Christine. But we do like workshops. So we do early loss workshops. We do so many workshops. So you can go on the website and find those. We're also doing a Mother's Day call, and this is actually with Hope Edelman, and it's worldwide this year. And so that's also on our website, and you can register. It's free or a small donation. And then we always have like a holiday gathering, and it's just a really great way to connect people. We have a pen pal group. I could just go on and on. We have a Facebook group called motherlessdaughters.mn, and we also have Instagram as well. And I just think that such good insight. Oh, that's nice, Katie. So I'm a true believer in it and the work that we're doing, and it's becoming, I should say, popular. Like nobody wants to be in this group, right? Like, but if you have to be a part of it,
Right.
you might as
Yeah.
well be a part of a damn good group. So I would say that's us. And we also do retreats, and hopefully we'll be doing more of that in person. So there's lots of ways to get connected in that group. But I also want to mention Girls Rise Up, which is our youth organization that we started in 2019, the end of 2019. And that is for youth motherless daughters. So girls 8 to 18 years old who have lost their moms via death as well. And we last year in 2020, which was obviously an epic year of a pandemic, we had 17 girls join us at various times. We did 9 gatherings, from like a friendship day to we went picnic and paddling when we could be outside, to yoga. I mean, we did so many great things in our first year. And then we also have a mentorship program with Big Brothers Big Sisters, so a partnership with them. So you can be a part of the gatherings, or you can be have a mentor, which would be like myself as an adult who's lost their mom, which is a really great program. Or you could just do one or the other. But that's, I mean, I'm all about She Climbs Mountains, but I feel like right now in my heart, because I'm the program director for Girls Rise Up, that I'm just like, spread the word, please. And,
Yes.
you know, we don't want more moms dying, but moms, this will happen. And so we just want to be able to provide that group that myself and you, Mickey, didn't have. I didn't know anybody else who lost their mom when I was my teenage years. So I just want to be able to provide them, these girls, with a community of other girls that have, you know, dealt with the loss. And we don't just talk about our dead moms. Like, I'm sorry, I'm
We
just kind
have
of crass
fun
when I talk about
too.
things. You know, we do fun things that build bonding and connection. You know,
Yeah.
these are teenagers, and so it's definitely, yeah, it's a lot of fun. So
Oh, well, thank you so very, very much for sharing. For everybody who's not in Minnesota, can they still join like the national Zoom calls and stuff
yeah,
like that?
yep. So we're doing actually some workshops online as well. So you can do those. And then the Mother's Day on our website is sheclimbsmountains.org. And on that, under gatherings, I think it is, you can see the Mother's Day, and that's worldwide. So anybody can call into that. I mean, that's kind of the
Oh,
beautiful thing that I think we've learned with COVID is doing virtual and being able to connect with more
right.
people.
Absolutely. And that's so great. So, people who have lost a mom, however old you are, you could be 65 and have lost your mom. You are welcome to this club. We are
Yes. Right.
sad that you're joining, but welcome to the club
Yeah.
if that is you. And this is so powerful. So, thank you so much for sharing. We are so blessed by you. And I'll make sure everybody has all of those links that you mentioned in my
Thank you.
follow up email that I'll send out on Saturday.
Okay. And guess what? We didn't even have any naked babies running behind. They're not babies anymore,
Oh, it's
but
a win. It's a
really
win.
exciting.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
Oh, awesome. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much, Shadia. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mickey. This
All
was
right.
really,
Yeah.
really great. I really appreciate it.
Oh, my absolute honor to host you. So thank you for being here. Well, you guys, wow. Wow, 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 wow. What are your thoughts? What did you think? Do you know any motherless daughters, however old that is? Again, I know some of you watching. I can see you're kind of on the side. I know you've experienced mother loss. So, as much as we talked about young mother loss, just know we are also, our hearts are with anyone who loses a mom at any age, at any stage, because it's always so hard. And She Climbs Mountains is a great place just to go and talk with other people. I promise you there will be someone your age, your stage there that you can talk with. So join us on this Motherless Mother's Day as we all go into this thing. And if you have any need for a Motherless Mother's Day card, don't forget about my Zazzle account. And last but certainly not least, I just put in the comment section, if you haven't gotten your copy of My Heart Still Remembers yet, please do so. That link is in the comments. I'm putting that in right now because we all have unprocessed grief. So even if you didn't lose your mom at 13, like Shadia and I did, there's so many other things that can cause all of us to be busy and to deflect. So just know that's my passion, is helping people lean in to their grief. So check out My Heart Still Remembers. Make sure you're following the page. Check out She Climbs Mountains. Get a Motherless Mother's Day card. There's lots of resources for you. I'm so grateful for you, and I can't wait to see you next week. Thank you again so much for being here. Bye.